Hello, everybody. We are back with more wayside mapping on OpenStreetMap. So today I thought it would be fun to do a little waterway mapping. That's something I do quite a lot of in OpenStreetMap. And it's pretty easy. So I'll just find a waterway that I haven't mapped yet and go ahead and do that. Um, there's a lot of reservoirs, of course, in the United States, a lot of dams. So most of these can be paddled in. And if I zoom in on this one, you can even see that the slipways have already been mapped. I'm using OpenTrailMap, which is a great way to view trail data and especially water trail data. I work on this app myself. So yeah, we have the slipways, but we don't have the routable paddle network mapped yet in this reservoir. And we also don't have a way to get between the Clearwater River here and the reservoir. So that'd be pretty cool if you were, say, staying somewhere way up in the mountains and you wanted to canoe all the way down the river, portage across the dam, into the main stem Clearwater River, and you could follow that. Wow, you could follow that all the way to the ocean, really. There's a lot of dams in the middle that you can portage around. Some of them have been mapped, some of them haven't. But yeah, eventually the goal is to have fully routable waterway network in OpenStreetMap. So you could have an app that could tell you paddle directions. It could say, oh, paddle along the shoreline of this reservoir for 10 miles, portage over this route, turn left, turn right, enter the water here and continue downriver to get to your destination. So let's jump right into editing. Um, yeah, you can just click View Details on any one of these access points to get the OpenStreetMap data. And I like to edit an ID, so I'll just select my editor of choice, jump out to the editor. And here we are. This looks like it's one of those reservoirs that the water level changes frequently. So with this imagery, um, you can see it's kind of low. Okay, the slipway doesn't even reach all the way to the water line. If we switch to Esri, you can see it's much higher. Um, so we're not going to mess around really with the outline of the reservoir. We just want to add tags to the waterways and make sure everything's connected correctly. Um, cool. So let me find the river center line that has already been mapped. That's very nice. I can zoom to selection here. Wow, it's quite a long feature in OpenStreetMap. That's most of the way across Idaho. So clearly this river isn't uniform the whole way. So we're gonna split the way to tag different attributes on different parts of the river. If I zoom in, like I said before, the reservoir seems to change level a lot, which means some of this is silted up river bottom that sometimes has a river and sometimes has a reservoir. That can be a little confusing, but I'm just going to try to find the point where it stops being a river and starts being a reservoir, at least most of the time. I'll be a little generous on it. I'll just go down. Yeah, I'll just go down here. It's a little bit arbitrary. Depends on conditions. But I'll just split it there using the X button. You can also right click to split. And then I'll select this part, zoom to selection. Man, this is a huge reservoir. Um, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tag this as a flow line, which is a newer tag that we use to specify that it doesn't really have the character of a river. Um, this particular waterway is inundated and it might take months or even years for the water to get from the top to the bottom. It still moves, it still has a flow, but it's very slow and not obvious if you're just in the water, like which way it's flowing and such. Um, so yeah, that looks pretty good. It's already split here at the dam, which is nice. Somebody micro mapped all the the spillways and the penstocks and such. Um, this could probably be improved a little. I'm not going to mess with it right now. The important part is to tag which parts of the waterway are canoeable and which parts are not, especially if it's a danger. So this would be the intake area for the dam. And somebody drew these floating booms. Uh, this doesn't have a widely used tag at the moment. I'm actually going to go ahead and fix that geometry up. So they tagged that as a fence, so it would show up probably on whatever map they were using. Um, but I've been using the tag barrier equals floating boom. Pretty basic. The reason we don't use barrier equals boom is that boom can also mean a lift gate in certain varieties of English. It doesn't need a name because it's redundant. The C mark tags are also redundant and a little annoying, but I'll just leave them for now. They don't hurt anything either. Um, yeah, as you see, the geometry isn't quite lined up. It's kind of difficult here because this is a very tall structure, the dam, so the ortho imagery probably isn't top down. It's probably a bit of an angle. So it's hard to know the exact alignment, but certainly there's a little more texture here than what we had. Yeah, this was last edited 4 years ago, so they probably had slightly worse imagery at the time. And of course, these are floating, so they move around a little bit. So we're just gonna try to map the general outline and not worry too much about getting it exact because it will vary from day to day. Cool. Yeah, we can go ahead and connect our flow line to the boom. And then again, we want to split. So I'm just gonna select the node that connects it as well as the line. I can right click and split, or I can use the X key. And then this is certainly a no access area because you could get sucked into the dam. Um, so we're just going to say access no, boat no, canoe no. Probably don't need all these tags, but it's good to sort of map for the least common denominator, the least common data user. So nobody will route down this waterway. Cool. And the rest of this, I haven't looked it up specifically, but I'm certain that this is a public reservoir that anyone can just go and recreate on. There's probably a list of rules, but it's pretty safe to say that canoe is yes. Possibly there's a permit system, but um, it's good enough for now just to say canoe equals yes. And then another mapper can add more rules if there are any. This is a bit of a hard right turn, which I guess is okay. Yeah, I'm actually going to go map the flow line coming from this direction. Cool part about flow lines is that you just want to sort of match the geometry of the water body that it's flowing through. Um, there's not necessarily a creek that ends right here. In fact, I don't see one at this time in this imagery. Um, but eventually, all the water in the lake is gonna either evaporate or exit through this dam. Um, so we can just kind of draw the directionality of it like that. What's the name of this lake? Dworshak Reservoir. Oh, it's not even linked to Wikidata. I like to make sure all major features are linked to Wikidata. Cool. There's only one thing with this name in Wikidata. You can take a look at it. Oh, wow. So this is only tagged as a recreation area on Wikidata because there was an import of all the recreation.gov gateways, which is honestly pretty cool. Like, we can link out to the Army Corps of Engineers website to see what recreation amenities are available on the lake. I really shouldn't call it a lake because it's a reservoir. It's man-made. Oh, what's this alert? Okay, so yeah, I can add some of these attributes. Um, believe the entire thing's in Idaho. Let's take a look. Even though I haven't downloaded the whole thing, I can see, yeah. So it's all within Idaho. And that is the North Fork, Clearwater. Cool. Yeah. Okay, back to Wikidata. So I could say instance of reservoir. Okay, administrative entity. I might be able to get to the county level, but I'm in a rush, so I'll just say Idaho for now. Coordinate location, just kind of eyeball it. It's sort of a strange, it's not strange shape, it's just long. I'll just sort of I'll just pick a spot sort of near the bottom, but not at the bottom. Um, you can just pull coordinates right out of the URL. It's usually the easiest way I've found to get them. Cool, that looks good. So to be clear, I'm not like importing OSM data into Wikidata here. I'm just like using ID as a tool to find the coordinates, and then I'm verifying that on the map here, which actually is OpenStreetMap data. So, but yeah, I'm like basically creating a new data, which is public domain because it's on Wikidata. Um, if you're worried about the license there. Uh, yeah. I also want to add the river here, so I can say, I forget what the inflows. Yeah, I think I can use that. So let's say North Fork, Clearwater. There's only one with that name, I think. So let's check out the whole thing. Yep, that's the whole reservoir. I could even add more inflows because there's Elk Creek here, but that's that could be someone else's job. And the only outflow here would be the North Fork Clearwater as well. Oh, what else does it want? This is probably out of date. Let me reload the page. Yeah, it's not cached. I could try to find an image and all that, but I'm not here to edit Wikidata per se. I just want to make sure it's linked and that it's linked to the correct item. So if I go back here, actually I haven't downloaded the whole reservoir yet. So I'm going to do that with clicking the download button. And then again, I can use the Z shortcut. I've been using that a lot to see the whole reservoir. Um, cool. You can also add more tags, so it's not intermittent as far as I can tell. Certainly not tidal. Few reservoirs are. It's good to just confirm that data if we know it. Cool. So that looks good. So I came here in the first place to copy the name. Copy, and then I can add the name to the flow line itself with this tag water body name equals Dworshak Reservoir. And this allows routers to go to tell mappers not only what river they're on, but what water body they're going through. So you can give directions like paddle for 10 miles through Dworshak Reservoir along the North Fork Clearwater River. Um, and it's just a lot richer experience. Cool. I was in the middle of adding this other flow line. This happens a lot where I get distracted mapping one thing and then have to go map a bunch of other stuff and then come back. So I'm gonna copy over these tags. Obviously gonna delete the the one specific to the river, but these other ones do apply. I can also say tidal equals no. I can say rapids equals no, even though that's implied for flow lines. And yeah, actually going to add those tags to the main flow line that I added. And I'll just select both of them, switch over to the tag table, and I can just do this to copy all these tags without copying all the tags, which is a nice little feature we added to ID a while back. All right, so these are both canoeable routes now, which is great. Um, Let's see. I do want to add the Elk Creek one as well, because that's it looks like a major tributary. Man, these ribbon reservoirs are something else, aren't they? I'll just call it here where the flow line starts. It may vary from year to year, but um, it's good enough. So you might ask why it matters to tag it as a flow line instead of a river from a data use perspective. One of the big reasons is that it implies that you can paddle both directions on the line easily, whereas a river, it's sort of unclear whether or not you can paddle upstream or the average person could paddle upstream against the current. You can tag that specifically, but on a flow line, it's pretty obvious. If the flow line is tidal, like in a bay or something, then you might only be able to paddle the direction of the tide. If the tide is strong, that's a whole nother thing. Uh, but it is important to be tagging which which segments are free flowing rivers and which segments are impounded. I skip any other tags. Yeah, and I kind of add the water body name to this. There's no rapids. Yeah, looks good. Now we're kind of creating our own little paddle network up here in the reservoir. And I do want to connect that to any access points that I've found. So here it's, yeah, these are tough because the varying water levels. I'm gonna bring down the lake line to where the concrete starts, just sort of a visual cue, at least for that one. This one looks okay, though I might straighten this out a little. Yeah, this some of these nodes were last changed 16 years ago, so um, I'm not worried that I'm like overwriting newer data. I'm creating newer data. Cool. So then this varies. Sometimes it's above water, sometimes it's below water. Um, I'm just gonna put my link like that, um, and then connect it up to our waterway that we drew earlier. And then this one too. Um, I'm gonna draw it separately. I'll just connect them like this. Looks okay. Looks fine. Well, maybe I'll do it like that. It might look a little nicer. Cool. So I'm gonna say waterway equals link and canoe yes, tidal no. I can have more tags like rapids no, but also that's sort of implied. Um, so yeah. So now if you wanted directions on how to boat to a specific point in the reservoir, then your app could tell you drive to this slipway, enter the water, and then connect up with flow lines and paddle upriver. Um, Obviously, though, if there's a closer access point, we want the router to use that one instead. So it's good to add as many slipways as we can find. Wow, this one is this one's way out there when the water level's low. Um, yeah, I see why somebody mapped it like this. Eh, it's a difficult use case. Yeah, this was added 4 years ago by Fun While Lost. That's a great username. Just gonna tag that as an area, and you could probably kind of leave it as is. I'm just gonna switch it to a link because that makes more sense in our data model here. Um, Eventually, we'd probably need richer tags to say that this is exposed at certain times. But I don't know any data consumer that'd be able to use that right now. Um, yeah, we'll just leave it as like that. I also don't know the specific canoe access of each of these access points. So I could tag that. I could say canoe is designated, canoe is yes. Um, I say stuff like title equals no on the access points, and that's really nice to know. But that can be more specific work later on. Looking for slipways. Here's one. Man, these are wild. These are really long too. Look at the cars. Like you have to drive. How long is this? Um, 780 feet between the parking lot and the slipway. That's why they're parked here, because they don't want to walk all the way down. Oh man. All right, this is wacky, but I'm just gonna switch that out. Also, I don't like to tag leisure equals slipway on lines anymore. Because every time you split the line, you create like a secondary slipway. Uh, I think it's way better to keep it as a node and just have all the tags on the point of interest. Um, POIs as lines are not really well supported by most data consumers anyway. I know they'll show up in OSM Carto, which is kind of cool, but um, a lot of apps won't really process slipways the same way. Cool. I'm just gonna clean up this parking lot a little bit. Just gonna reuse this line so I don't have to disconnect anything. But retag it as parking aisle. Same thing over here. Looks pretty good. If you notice, I keep flashing the the data like that. I'm using the W key to switch to wireframe mode. I really like doing that. I hope it's not too distracting, but it just helps to see um, the data and then switch very quickly over to the the imagery. Oh, this is a fun little creek. We can just mark it as a flow line right where it touches the reservoir. That's usually a good rule of thumb if that's well defined. Canoe, yes. Tidal, no. Um, and again, we're going to get rid of all these tags, even though they might be okay. Waterway link, canoe, yes. Tidal, no. Yeah, and waterway link's just a tag I started using to connect the land with the water. It implies that like it's not like this is the only path you can take to get to the water. Um, but we're just connecting the two different parts of the network, or the two different networks, the waterway network and the highway network. Okay. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. I do want to see if I can add portage that you would take to get between the reservoir and the main Clearwater River. If we go back to OpenTrailMap, we can see very easily all the slipways. Oh, we can probably find some more. Yeah, there's one there. There's one up there. We might not get to all of them today. Um, those are the main ones. All right, I'll try to add those two and then go try to add the portage. Yeah, shout out to the people who've been mapping these slipways. A lot of times I show up at a at a waterway on OpenStreetMap, and there's either like a road but no slipway, or a slipway but no road, or they're not connected, or I don't know. This is just really cool to see the stuff already mapped. Mm. I typically like to connect these at a right angle because it's going to be the shortest distance in between just the center of the waterway and the center or in the access point. It's probably not the route most people would take, but that's sort of the best way I've found to do it. Looks good. Just gotta tag this line. Split it. I don't feel like retyping the tags, so I'm just gonna copy them like this. Most of these tags aren't really supported in the ID presets yet, so that's why I have to like manually add them all. Um, oh, and where was the other one? That was this one. I like the names too. It's really nice to place names on waterway access points, slipways. Oh, so now I'm tempted. When I see a something mapped as a node that I can easily see like the outline of the area, I always feel the need to combine them. And you can just draw the outline and then use this merge feature to combine the two. And I'll draw the parking aisle as well. Great. There's obviously a lot more detail I could be adding to all of these access points. Like this probably is a restroom, or no, this is probably a restroom over here, and this is probably a picnic pavilion. Um, but we're focused on just getting the fundamentals down today. Okay, let's try to find where this portage might be. A lot of times there's not a specifically signed portage, but there's an obvious route where it's the shortest public route between two locations. Um, Looks like there might be a route along the river here, like a pathway. Obviously, there are these public boat ramps down here, which I'd mapped before. There's this one, which I hadn't mapped, but I'm going to right now. It's pretty cool. And this one pretty obviously would allow canoes for sure. There's a canoe, yes. Oop, we're not on the API. Are we on the internet? I think we're on the internet. Yeah, So now this is canoe access. We have to tag the river itself as canoe access, not title. And before we tag a whole stretch as canoe access, yes, it's important to just review it visually and see any potential issues. Looks like rapids, actually. There might only be some riffles, but um, it's really important to tag any potential danger spots. Yeah, these look pretty minor. I'm just not going to tag it rapids yes or no. I'm just gonna let somebody go survey that and see. Um, so I'm looking to see if it's possible to canoe from up here down there. These look pretty minor. Oh, there's a boat here. Yeah, that's a boat. So that's always good to see um, on the map. If you see a boat, then at least it's physically possible to boat there. I'm gonna say you could probably canoe here. It seems pretty likely. Um, Typically, you're not allowed to boat into the infrastructure of the dam, and you really wouldn't want to anyway. So um, let me give it a bit of space and split it here. And then I'm just going to tag this entire stretch that we reviewed as canoe equals yes. Um, so basically, we're looking for a place where you can put in that's safely below the dam, that's public access, that people could use as a portage point. It looks, I don't know, it seems like there's probably a route down here. Let's look at the elevation. This is cool. If you haven't looked at all the background layers in OpenStreetMap, then you're missing out because there's a lot of things you can use that aren't just imagery. So if I go down to this 3D elevation program layer, you can see the topography of the terrain. It helps out quite a bit for seeing under the trees. Yeah, so what I'm seeing here is that there's sort of a bench or a road or path that has been, yeah, oh, there it is. Oh, sweet. So we look here, this little service road, I'll map that. And then it's either a track or a path that goes right along the river. So I don't know that this will be useful for portage, but I'm gonna map it anyway, because it's still good data. And it any kind of infrastructure that's along a river is useful to show on a river map for paddlers. Say you're paddling a river and you get into a bad situation. You want to know where the nearest exit is. You want to know um, if there's a trail along the river that you can take. You're not if you say if your boat capsizes, goes downstream, if it gets dark and you need to bail, and you're not able to finish your paddle trip, what kind of infrastructure is available. Even if it's private infrastructure, you might have to trespass a little bit. That's not something we want to encourage in OpenStreetMap, but that is something that's has a rich heritage in paddling. Is sort of a liberal interpretation of property law, like it or not. It's probably track. Seems like it's probably a route that the maintenance crew would use to get to the bottom of the dam on the left bank. Oh wow, I knew I said I wasn't gonna mess with these, but this is going the wrong direction, and I'm just gonna fix that. Cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna map as many of these pathways as I can because it's you never know which one is gonna end up being the the useful path for portage route. And also, if you're looking at a portage map and you're having trouble like orienting yourself and figuring out which paths are the ones, which path's the one to take, and there's only one on the map, but you see like three or four different driveways or paths on in real life, then you might end up taking the wrong one. But if you map all of them, then people go, "Oh, I want the middle one, I want the left one, what have you." Where does this come out? Yeah, must be here. Oh yeah, I can see the guardrail. And obviously, it's not just for paddling. Like if you just want a map of this area, um, then you want as much data as possible. All right, I'm gonna go to another source to try to find if there's a path that connects these two areas. And that's the Strava heat map. This is allowed to be used for OpenStreetMap, which is an awesome resource, and I'm so happy that Strava continues to support it. Unfortunately, it's there's no. Oh, yeah, there's no longer a way to easily load the tiles into ID, um, and overlay them on imagery. There's like a couple hacky workarounds with an extension and stuff, but uh, I just tend to go to here and to reference things. Okay, so luckily we do see that a lot of people have gone on that little trail that I meant that I inferred was there and added, and we can see the exact sort of extent of it. Um, and besides that, we don't really have any good data that would help us out here. Um, hmm. Yeah, so this is on foot that they're accessing that. I want to go ahead and see if there's any street side imagery. Maybe this is an official trailhead. Ooh, okay. Well, this isn't ideal, but we can take a look. Uh, so there is a porta pot and looks like maybe a trash bin. Um, and there's a gate which probably says I can't tell what it says. It says no something. Probably no parking in front of the gate. Um, to me that speaks trailhead. Like, why would you have a toilet and a trash can and a little parking area? If it wasn't a trailhead, particularly because the gate is there, not there. If the gate was blocking access to the parking lot, then I would assume it's private. Um, yeah, so could go ahead and map the gate and the toilet, portable toilet. Even though it's portable, it's probably there all the time. Um, and the bin, trash can. Cool. And this is gravel. And what else? Cars parked over there. So we're just gonna make this whole thing a parking lot, even though some of it has to stay clear for the right of way. And I think this is a trailhead. I might be wrong, but someone can fix that. And this here, we can assume it's not open to vehicles. So we'll say that's private vehicles and then foot. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to actually tag it as foot equals yes. I want somebody to come through and review it. But yeah, other than that, it's looking pretty good. Oh, that icon got messed up. All right, all right, all right. What is this area? BLM land. Yeah, I don't know the best portage route. I definitely have to take up here because it's public access. You'd walk up here, you'd walk down the road, trying not to get hit by a car. See, this has a pullout. It doesn't mean there's a trail there necessarily. This looks like it's probably a creek. I don't know. I don't know why it would end there. Maybe a shadow. No, the shadow's going north-south. I don't know what that is. Well, I'll have to try to find more data, better data, look at the data closer, um, or I'll have to drive to Idaho and do a little survey. Because without the portage, there's no way for paddlers to get between the two basins here, to get between the reservoir and all of its upstream tributaries to all the downstream tributaries. That's why I love to add portages to OpenStreetMap. As a paddler, they kind of suck. Like you got to take your boat, put it on your shoulders, and or put it on some wheels and roll it down to the next body of water. Um, if it's a few hundred feet, might not be so bad. If it's a few miles, it might be impossible for some people to accomplish that. But that's just long been a part of paddling. Wow, there's definitely a road on top of the dam that's not mapped either. Huh. Well, I'm not gonna do that right now. But anyway, this has been some waterway mapping. I'd love to do some more of it on stream. But for now, I think I'm just gonna save my edits. There's no issues. That's good. We did use street side. We did not use mapillary, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Um, what's the name of the reservoir? Dworshak. I'm not really good at writing good comments, but I usually like to put the place name at least and sort of at least why I was mapping, if not what I changed. Cool. And we're gonna upload those to OpenStreetMap. Okay. Let's see our change set. Take a look at the different things we added. Yeah. If we go back to OpenTrailMap, we won't see the changes right away. We will have to wait, I think, up to 8 hours at this point to see the changes, um, which is honestly pretty good. Some apps take months to get updates. Uh, though in the future, I'd love to get it down even sooner. So that's been some reservoir mapping here on the channel. Thanks for watching today. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.